Well, I'm Evan.
And I'm Steven.
And, it's about midnight at the man cave. Well, tonight's topic is the worst movies. Steven, what's your favorite worst movie?
My favorite worst movie would probably have to be Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, because as I said on my review at school, it is so bad it's quite laughably hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's bad enough that Nicolas Cage is in a superhero movie.
Anything Nick Cage is pretty bad.
Except National Treasure, that's just about
Well,
the only
National
movie.
Treasure 1 was pretty good. The second one, that was...
Yeah. But anyways, Ghost Rider 2, there were just so many things over the top about it and just completely ridiculous that I was actually able to have a good time. Which is surprising considering I paid $10 for it.
You paid $10 for such an awful movie that it turned out great.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, next up on our list is Spider-Man 3.
Now, I actually liked Spider-Man 3. I was a little surprised to hear about the backlash towards it over the years later where people were like, oh, Spider-Man 3 sucked. But I can see a few reasons why, because even back then there are a few things I didn't agree with. The biggest being Emo Peter. That was just a very... any section with him was just very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it seemed like the acting throughout the Spider-Man movies just declined throughout the trilogy. I don't know.
They had characters like Gwen Stacy and her dad in there, and they were just like in the background. They didn't have any significance.
Yeah.
Like, not like they did in the new one.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I thought that there was one part, I don't know if I've mentioned it or not before, but I'm going to say it again because I hate it that much. The Hobgoblin is going down the alley, and it's, like, completely unrendered. It's such an awful scene. The alley, the CGI alley is. It's, like, purple bricks, and it looks like they didn't texture it at all. Like, they forgot to do it.
now that I did not notice. I don't work as much with special effects as you do, so I don't always have a keen eye, unless it's for the really, really bad CGI.
I actually saw it back in 8th grade, which was 2008 for me.
Oh.
Well, us.
Yeah.
And I noticed it even then, and I wasn't into film at all.
Yeah, I'm not usually one to pick out certain bad special effects unless they're really right up in your face about it. The alley's just kind of flying by.
Mm-hmm. Well, next up on our list is Superman.
Superman 4, Quest for Peace. One of the, who was the actor who played Superman in those movies?
I think it was the same guy that had...
Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, that's him.
Or Reeves, whatever.
Whatever.
Those were some of the Superman movies that were deemed really silly, but sometimes likable. This one was just plain silly. The villain, aside from, of course, Lex Luthor, he created someone called Nuclear Man by taking a piece of Superman's DNA, which I believe was a hair, and tying it, packaging it somehow with every nuclear bomb on the planet, which, by the way, Superman goes before the UN and says, the war is bad, so I'm going to get rid of every nuclear weapon in the world, and everyone just applauds. Not even considering that some countries may need the nuclear weapons for protection.
Yeah, Superman, let's get rid of our nukes.
And then we're going to get invaded and taken over by our neighboring countries. So yeah, Superman throws the nukes into the sun, and combined with his DNA, it creates a reaction that creates Nuclear Man, who, by the way, is defeated because he is solar powered. You get him in shadow and he shuts off.
Well, same thing with Superman.
Really?
Yeah, he gets his power from the sun.
I never knew that. I'm not a Superman person.
That's why all of Krypton didn't have superpowers. Because he gets his powers from the yellow sun. Anyway,
Okay.
next up on the list is Son of the Mask. I loved The Mask. The one with Jim Carrey. Brilliant.
I've seen pretty much one scene. I think it's the one where he's like faking a death and then wins an Oscar for it or something. Does that happen in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Based on seeing that scene, the movie looks pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
And what I remember from the preview for Son of the Mask is where you see some guy talking to his kid. He's like, "Hey, can you say dada?" And then in a really deep voice, the baby just goes like, "Mother."
Yeah, it's just... I don't...
Jim Carrey's not in that one, is he?
No, he's not. It's like they were like, hey, you know what would be really cool, guys? If we made another Mask movie. And it's those guys that were like watching it over and over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, dude, let's get some money together and do this. This would be a great idea.
So you're saying like it's not even the creative people behind the original, it's just some guys who watch it and say, you know what? That'd be really cool.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Kind of like Human Centipede 2, how some mentally deranged fan tried to recreate what he saw because he liked jacking off to the original movie.
Yeah.
I can't believe they would make a movie with that disgusting of a concept.
Anyway, next up on our list is Aragon.
Aragon is not a bad movie in its own merits. I will admit, however, it's a terrible adaptation of the book, and I think in the future if they try it again, they should definitely give it a more Lord of the Rings style treatment as far as how serious it is and how epic of a scale it is. Because Aragon was a really good, really tense book about a boy who finds a dragon egg and is thrust into a world about being a hero. It's a really tough journey he goes on, and it'd be nice to see a movie like that rather than just like another Chosen One story. Because believe me, there are a lot of struggles Aragon goes through, and that would be a much more interesting character to see.
Yeah, one, again, I've probably mentioned this, but my hate for this is so strong, I must mention it again.
Oh no.
All of the X-Men movies.
Oh boy.
By themselves, they're good, but if you know anything about the comics, they're awful, man.
Yeah, I think the X-Men movies mostly appealed in, like, fanboyism, because there was some fandub on the internet about the Juggernaut where... And that's where the line, "Oh, I'm the Juggernaut!" Hey, I'm the Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Female dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway.
That's where that came from. So, X-Men movies apparently very fanboy appealing.
Yeah, it was just... Anyway, next up is the Green Lantern. I've probably mentioned it again, but I hate it. Bad acting, bad special effects. They sold out to Hot Wheels several times.
I thought Ryan Reynolds was a weird choice. I haven't actually seen the movie, but some of the effects, they look pretty cheesy. And really just Ryan Reynolds. He doesn't seem like the right choice for a superhero movie. Like
the story wasn't right either.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Anyway, next up, spoof movies.
It started with... This brand of spoof movie started with the Scary Movie franchise, which expanded when two of the writers of Scary Movie thought they could do it on their own, and they made such pieces of dribble as Date Movie, Epic Movie,
Disaster Movie,
Meet the Spartans, and Superhero Movie, which wasn't too bad, but Disaster Movie was exactly that, an absolute disaster, and finally opened my eyes to be like, wow, this kind of humor is just completely and blatantly ripping off and spouting every kind of stupid movie reference they can think of without putting extra thought into it.
Yeah. Transformers 2. I thought it was a bad movie because there was a whole bunch of unnecessary sexual jokes.
Yeah, not gonna lie, but then again, most of the Transformers movies had that, like the third one with the Deep Wang joke.
Yeah.
I just thought...
Well, like, at the beginning of Transformers 2, they have, like, the two dogs doing it, and I'm like, why are we watching this? This is...
Did I mention that these movies are based on a line of toys?
Yeah.
For children.
Yeah.
I mean, I was more forgiving of Transformers 2 than others have been, but I thought the humor was kind of crass. There was some unnecessary things, like the twins mainly. Those were people's primary complaint.
They were pretty racist.
Yeah.
Anyway. The robots weren't racist. Their portrayal was very racist. Anyway.
Yeah.
Norbit. I haven't seen it, so, Steven?
Norbit is a movie where Eddie Murphy marries a fat chick, Eddie Murphy, and then falls in love with his childhood friend, and...
Sounds like a bad version of the Nutty Professor.
Nice. And, that's basically it. Saw a few years ago. It was not very good, in all honesty. I mean, I may have liked kind of stuff like that back then, but now I just absolutely not.
Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler movies. The only one...
Have you ever seen him play more than one character? No, because he plays the same character over and over and over.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the one Adam Sandler movie I could really get behind... Well, actually I have to say movies like Lil Nicky and Waterboy.
Same character.
Yeah, but those were the same characters with slight mental deficiencies and maybe a more innocent look on the world somehow. So, those were slight variations.
All of his movies have the same humor as well.
Pretty much. The one I got behind really was Click, the one where he could use a remote to control pause, rewind, fast forward, mute, etc. His entire universe. That one was pretty funny because of the remote jokes, although it did fall on sophomoric humor a lot.
Yeah.
And,
Bedtime Stories was a good one with him.
I've only seen part of that. I thought it looked kind of silly, but...
It was definitely a kid's show, but I liked it more than his other movies.
Well, yeah, if Adam Sandler's gonna make a kid's movie, he can't have all that stuff, so...
Yeah.
It forces him to actually be creative.
Next up is The Avengers. Let me pull up a review. A great cast. A classic TV series on which to base the adventure of some rather beautiful production design. The Avengers looked, on paper, to have it all. Shame that the arc dialogue collapsed, the jokes fizzled, and the villain conferred with a table full of giant teddy bears. It's so surreal looking, it's almost a work of art, not just a cinema. The Avengers is a gargantuan misfire, but it probably isn't the hilarious travesty that a lot of people are expecting it to be. A great, big, boring, multi-million-dollar piece of useless eye candy. That's Paula Terrera from CNN.com. Now, of course, we're not talking about the Avengers that recently came out by Marvel.
Yeah, we're talking about an Avengers that's based on an old British spy show. In fact, my manager, when she heard the Avengers was coming out, she thought it was an Avengers movie based on the TV show upon which that movie is based on. And I'm like... No, it's Marvel's The Avengers. You know, Iron Man, Captain America, and...
as soon as I saw this, I just had to troll every single one of you, because I'm a troll. Anyway, next up is the movie The Room.
The Room is a movie made by a very bizarre filmmaker named Tommy Wiseau. And let's just say he's probably the worst actor to ever exist. Not because, he's not putting emotion into it or anything, even though that's part of the problem. But the guy he just puts the most wrong inflections. He does not utter things.
Everyone, the fridge.
Cameo.
Continue.
Tommy Wiseau is the worst actor because he cannot emote correctly or speak like a human being. And that just makes this movie just awful. Well, we only have about 10 seconds, so here's the conclusion. Batman and Robin is stupid, campy, and fits 3 villains into one movie just like Spider-Man 3.
Jeff Dunham is extremely offensive and outdated humor.
And Tyler Perry, just stop.
Good night.